Welcome to this video on significant figures, also known as significant digits. Significant figures are digits within a number that indicate a level of certainty that we have in that number. We usually find these expressed when we make a measurement or perform a calculation. To begin with, all non-zero numbers are considered significant. As an example, here's a very simple one, 512, what we see right here. We can see that there are three significant figures. There are no zeros, so they're all non-zero numbers. Each one is significant. Now that begs the question, what about the zeros? Are there some zeros that are significant? The answer is yes. But there are also some zeros that are not significant. And we will look at three categories of numbers, and each category will have their own rule as to which zero is significant and which zero is not significant. Our first category will be numbers that are expressed in scientific notation. Here I mean proper scientific notation. If you need to, go back and review class notes 1 as to what is proper scientific notation. The second category are numbers without a decimal point. The third category would be numbers that do have a decimal point. Here's our first category of numbers. Numbers expressed in proper scientific notation. Our general rule for numbers such as these is that all digits, both zero and non-zero, that come before the little part that says 10 to the something, that little something is an exponent. All of those numbers that come before that piece are significant. It does not matter whether the exponent is positive or negative. So let's look at some examples that I have here. Notice I have a positive exponent and a negative exponent just to show you that that doesn't matter. Our first one is 1.20 times 10 to the fifth. So mentally, I'm going to put my hand over my 10 to the fifth. Okay, I'm just going to look at the piece before it and notice all of those numbers I've underlined in green. All of those numbers, zero or non-zero, are all significant. So therefore, that number has three significant figures. Similarly, my next example, 6.904 times 10 to the minus 3. Again, it doesn't matter whether my exponent is positive or negative. If again I put my hand over the 10 to the minus 3, I'm going to look at the numbers in front of that. I've underlined each of my significant figures in green. So all four of those numbers, 6, 9, 0, and 4, are all significant. That number has four significant figures. Here are some examples to try on your own to test your understanding. We have four numbers in proper scientific notation. Pause the video here and write the number of significant figures for each of these four numbers. Resume the video and we will check your work. All right, now that we're back, let's check your work. And our first one, 5.62 times 10 to the minus 2, all of those numbers coming before the 10 to the minus something or 10 to the something part are significant. So we have three significant figures. Notice on our second one, we don't have a decimal in here. That's okay. There's only one significant figure, and that is the 1. Our next one, our number 3, well, we've got a lot more numbers here, but each of those numbers coming before our 10 to the something part are significant, including the 0. So we have 5 numbers, we have 5 significant figures. Our last one, even a little longer, we have 6 numbers that come before our 10 to the 2 part. So all 6 of those, including the 0, are significant. 6 significant figures. Hopefully you did well. If you need more practice, we have blue sheets at the end of your notes sections. So if you need extra practice, please use those. Thank you. Welcome to our second category of numbers, numbers without a decimal point. Here's our rule for these numbers. All numbers are significant except for trailing zeros. So what do I mean by that? These are zeros that come after the last non-zero number. Let's look at some examples. Here we have 5,200. Notice it doesn't have a decimal. The trailing zeros are these last two zeros. They have a red underline under each of them. Our last non-zero number is a 2. The 5 and 2 are significant, but those last two zeros are not. It has two significant figures. Now, here's another one that has a little twist. Our example number 2, 10,050. Well, notice these zeros here, but our last non-zero number is 5, so the zero after that is not significant. These numbers, these zeros right here are significant, and we're going to address that later. I call them captured zeros, zeros that come between two non-zero numbers. Notice my 1, my 0, and my 5 all have the yellow, green underlines underneath them. They're significant. My last 0 is not significant. That's the trailing 0. We have 4 significant figures. Let's try some practice on your own. Pause the video here and write down the number of significant figures in each of the 4 practice problems. You can resume the video to check your work. Welcome back, and let's see how you did. Our first one, 60. Well, that 0 is a trailing 0, so 6 is the only significant figure. We only have one significant figure. 5 was pretty easy. There aren't any zeros, so there's only one significant figure. The next one, our number 3, is a little more interesting. We've got a lot of numbers here, but it ends in a 0. All the other digits are non-zero, so that last 0 is a trailing 0. It is not significant. If we count up the number of digits before that, we'll find that there are 5 of them. And again, I've highlighted the significant figures by underlining them in green. The non-significant are underlined in red. So that one was fairly easy. Our next one might be a little tricky because we've got a lot of zeros in there. Notice our last non-zero number is 6. All those zeros in between, those are captured zeros, but our last 0 is not captured. It is trailing. That's why it gets a red underline. And again, we have 5 significant figures in the last example. So hopefully you did pretty well. Again, get extra practice if you're still struggling with this. Thank you. We have our last category of numbers, numbers that do have a decimal point. The rule for determining the significant figures in numbers with the decimal point is that all numbers are significant except for leading zeros. Remember last time we talked about trailing zeros, the zeros that come at the end. Now we're talking about leading zeros, the zeros that come at the beginning, specifically numbers that come before the first non-zero number. So let's go ahead and do some examples to illustrate that. Our first example right here, notice it's 0.500. I went ahead and underlined our digits as to significant and not significant. Notice this 0 comes before our first non-zero number. It is a leading 0 in a decimal number, so it is not significant. You're going to want to say, oh, these are trailing, so they're not significant either. With a decimal number, these become significant. So this number actually has 3 significant figures. Our second example, it's kind of easier. We don't have any zeros that come before our first non-zero number, so we don't have to worry about leading zeros. But we're going to want to say, oh, that's a trailing 0. Well, it's a decimal number, so the trailing 0 here counts. We're just looking at leading zeros. So all of these digits are significant, and this example has 4 significant figures. Let's try some examples on your own to test your understanding. Here we have 4 numbers that are decimal numbers. Pause the video here and write down the number of significant figures for each of the 4 examples. Resume the video to check your work. Welcome back. Check your work against what we have here. The first example here, notice all of these zeros at the beginning are leading zeros. They are not significant because we have a decimal. So the answer is 3. We have 3 significant figures. For the second example, notice all these digits are significant. There are no leading zeros. There are trailing zeros, but again, with decimals, the trailing zeros count as significant. there are 6 significant figures. Same thing with the third example. We have zeros in the middle, those captured zeros, those are significant. So we have all those digits are significant, so we have 5 significant digits. And with our last example, again, we come back to having more leading zeros. They come before our first non-zero number. And after that, the remaining digits are significant. So the first 3 are not significant, the last 4 are. So the answer to the last one is 4 significant figures. Again, if you're having trouble with these and keeping these different types of numbers apart and the rules separate, go ahead and do those blue practice sheets at the end of your class notes and get extra practice with these because they will become very important. Thank you.